folks, and welcome to the Gold Hoops and God podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Guerra, and in this episode, I have a lovely guest. I want to introduce Gabi Meza. Hi, Gabi.
Hi, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yay, thank you so much for joining, Gabi. So Gabi is actually an alum of UCLA. Go Bruins. So that's exciting. Yay, that's great. And so we'll kind of dive right in. So on this podcast, there are a couple things that I always like to ask my guests. The first being culture. You know, as we know, Latinas are so diverse. We come in all different shades, backgrounds, practices, etc. And so I would love to hear from you if you can share with us a little bit about, where you grew up, how you understood culture, and how you kind of envision yourself today.
Alrighty, well, I actually grew up back and forth between California and Mexico. It's really interesting, but home for me is back in Ensenada, Baja California, Mexico. Specifically, a small town called Sauzal in Ensenada. And so my parents are from there. My grandparents, they settled roots there. But I was born in East LA. So,
cool. Yeah.
And then, so we moved around a lot in California, lived in the Bay Area, in LA, went back to Mexico, and then came back to the Bay Area, and then back down to LA for college.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, even during the pandemic, I went back to El Sauzal, and I lived there for a couple of years, and I came back to LA a couple of years ago. So just very back and forth. And of course, that influences my view on culture. Very transnational, very, it's one thing to be Chicana, but it's a completely different thing to be from both sides, for real.
Yes.
It's a different culture and context, and the way the two cultures blend inside me. It's more it's very unique. I mean, a lot of people don't understand it because you grow up on either side, not back and forth. So it's very it's just a very different way of seeing both cultures separately, and then both cultures mixed together. I think I have a really unique take on that, but I guess we'll discuss it more in detail.
Yes. Oh, this is fabulous. So 1,000%, right? So you truly are able to express like that borderlands experience of literally like, what does it mean to be in both worlds, to travel back and forth across two different worlds? And you're absolutely right. I think that the term Chicana or Chicano, it's very particular. It's very specific. It's very political. It's tied to really like a certain time period in U.S. history and that consciousness raising, right? In connection, of course, with Chicano studies and that the growth of, Chicano studies and everything with the farm workers, et cetera, which but yeah, I would love to hear how do you identify? I don't love boxes, right? But I'm curious, right? I'm not a fan of like the categories, as we know, right? When we have to fill out a form, like, are you American? Are you Black? Are you Asian? Are you this? If you're mixed race, oh my gosh, right? It's like everything wants to kind of put us in a little category box. But I'm super curious because you've had such experience back and forth in both places. Like, do you see yourself like literally like 50-50, or do you feel more connected to one location or another?
Honestly, it depends on the day, like, and the place that I am in, and my mindset at the time, and whom I'm around.
Yes.
And actually, this is one of the things that, like, I think deeply about ever since I left UCLA. I mean, my degree was literally in political science and Chicano studies.
There you go. Yeah.
And so it's like political science was really giving like PWI, like, and it was giving like the structure, like the systems that are in place here. And then the Chicano studies was kind of more of like the spiritual, social, development of like Chicano specifically. And so I realized that I don't fit either of those. Like I like identified a little more with the Chicano you know, kind of story and stuff, but it still didn't quite fit because I grew up in Mexico for a long time and
Right.
went back and forth, right? And
Right.
so the label I've always come back to kind of is that I'm more transnational
I love that.
and um
So
kind
powerful.
of, and I know that I have indigenous roots. So the way I understand my identity is that I'm just indigenous.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And that transcends the borders, right? Like it doesn't really I mean, the migration back and forth, I mean, that's been happening since before there was a border. So
Absolutely.
it it just I know that it goes further and deeper than a lot of people are going to be able to understand, and that's how I make sense of my identity in this context.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah, I think transnational is such a powerful term. Yeah, because it's not just one. It's not just one or the other. And it's so true as far as like indigeneity. It's so interesting in terms of like talking with people and learning more about like indigenous communities in what we now call the United States, right? The
Mm-hmm.
territories, right? The territories that now fall under US, what have you, politics, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And with indigenous communities like Mayan communities, Zapotec, etc., in Mexico, Central America, South America, there's so much in common actually as far as like struggle, identity, trying to preserve like legacy, culture, things like that, foods. There's a lot of connection there, a lot of overlap that I think people don't realize, you know.
Definitely.
So I'm really glad that you mentioned that. That's super cool. Yeah, and actually, like many countries, Mexico is so diverse, even like geographically. Like people don't understand that. It's like
Oh
saying, "Oh,
yeah.
I'm from Mexico." Well, are you from the F? Are you from Monterrey? Are you from right? It's they're different,
Del
you know.
norte, you know, is
El
a whole
Norte,
different ball
exactly.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. From Ciudad Juarez, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much going on. It's very different. It's very different to be from the mountains, from the coast, from you know. And I've kind of mentioned this, I think, in other episodes that those are different. I guess we can use the word like ecosystems or different realities in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really glad. And Ensenada is beautiful. I have been a couple times, like with my family, we drive down there and
Really?
stuff. Yeah, because growing up in LA, it's it's relatively close. It's like pretty drivable to go.
Yeah.
We go to Tijuana and Ensenada, and it's super fun. That's so cool. Thank you, Gabby. Very cool. All right. So speaking of like indigeneity, I love how a lot of people now especially are trying to kind of like reconnect with their indigenous roots, especially like you know a lot of people have struggles with Christianity, with Catholicism because of the colonial, of course, right? Because of the colonial legacy, and I totally get that. Um, but it's kind of cool to see people exploring, exploring some of the curanderismo or santeria or just different ancestral wisdom, different ways of knowing. And I think it's very cool. So I'm curious to hear from you, Gabby, kind of how you see these things. If you grew up with any particular, religious traditions, spiritual traditions, and if there's any, yeah, if there are certain things that you participate in today, I would love to hear.
Yeah. Well, so I definitely resonate with that conflict that people have about religion
Yeah.
and how it was used to kind of indoctrinate people into certain things, you know, like labor, forced labor,
Right.
you know, used to submit women as well throughout the
Mm-hmm.
years. It's been used as a tool to oppress people in general.
Right. Right.
And so I do have that. And for a long time, I kind of, you know, lost myself in like not having a faith
Mm.
because I just thought that it was like all or nothing, right? But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've come to understand that that it you can hold two things at once and it could be a lot more nuanced than than people, you know, like you can be very specific about your faith and very specific about how you use things with intention.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start there. I literally lived a block away from my town's church.
Oh wow.
And it was, my house was uphill, the church was downhill, and so
Oh,
I grew up going to church on Sundays with my grandma sometimes, for quinceañeras, for when people die, a
mm-hmm,
novenario
mm-hmm,
and stuff like that. So very traditionally Catholic in a sense, and yeah, baptisms, primera comunión, all of that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Uh, and so, I mean, I see the cultural value in, like reunion, family, tradition, all of
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, I feel that there's aspects of religion that were meant to help people, but
Mm-hmm.
in reality ended up with a different, effect. Um, and I know that our ancestors, for example, my grandma, like
Mm-hmm.
she really used it as a way to keep going, right? Like, I mean, it was a different time.
Yes.
Women had less rights.
Mm-hmm.
She had like 12 kids. So,
Wow.
she
Yeah, a
needed
huge
God.
family. Right? You know she needed God.
Right.
I
Like she
mean,
needed faith,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. That's
to keep
so,
going.
yeah. It's a lot,
And
yeah.
so, yeah, fast forward to a time where you can take faith in a religion for granted, right? Like my generation,
Yeah.
it's so easy to just be like, oh, here we go to church again.
Mm-hmm,
Like I'm
mm-hmm,
bored, like you're just looking at the ceiling and,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
thinking about other things. And so it's just,
Yeah.
time has evolved to the point where I don't even have to question, like, I mean, I don't have children, right? Like, and at this age, my grandma would have already had like 6 children.
Right. Wow.
So it's
Yeah.
just like I
Yep.
have that freedom to say,
Mm-hmm.
I don't identify with this or that. I don't want this and that for my
Mm-hmm.
life. And so it's very easy to like reject something that you think
Mm-hmm.
isn't benefiting you.
Mm-hmm.
But now as I get older, I realize like there is power in the way that that faith carried my ancestors.
Absolutely.
And I can't just throw that away. It so now I use the symbolism of religion and kind of the practices, like the good things
Mm-hmm.
that come
The
from it,
good, yeah.
and
Yeah.
use that for practice in my life, and exploring, kind of what different spiritual practices feel good for me, and at the same time bringing with me the things that
Mm-hmm.
worked for my ancestors,
Mm-hmm.
um, and applying those when I feel lost, because you will
Mm.
inevitably feel lost, right? When you're
Yeah.
navigating kind of your faith and your
Mm-hmm.
beliefs, your opinions and stuff. It's also conflicting
Wow.
because like survival versus, like getting to choose.
Yeah.
You breaking those cycles, it gets to a point where you have to decide kind of what is best for you in this
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that is so beautifully said. I love everything you said, and I agree with you 1,000%. 1,000%. And I mean, I even was taking notes as you were speaking so I could remember and share. I say this all the time, and I think it's so important. Holding two things at once, right? It's possible for two things to be true at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is so incredibly important to consider, at the very least, when it comes to religion. You know, it's like, yes, right? Like, yes, some really terrible things have happened. Yes, the history is a little sketchy, right? There's some things that are not cool. And at the same time, and people like your grandmother and my grandmother and other, elders and young people, their faith is all they had sometimes. Their faith is literally what got them through the day,
Mm-hmm.
and that I don't think you can just dismiss that. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
it's fair. And I kind of I take issue sometimes when people are like so ready to throw out anything related to religion. I'm like, oh, you're gonna toss out all of the people that you say you care about too, right? When you talk, because this is the thing. when people start talking about, oh, community, community, oh, family, family, it's like many of them are believers. So if you're going to toss out the whole church thing, you're also tossing them out too. Right? Like, oh, basically, like,
Mm-hmm.
beware, tread lightly on that. So, yeah, I think this is so fantastic. I love what you shared. And exactly, I do feel that's kind of like our, shall we say, like mission or goal, or a really
Mm-hmm.
good approach is, take the best part of it and leave the rest.
Yeah.
Take those beautiful practices, those symbols of hope, the glimmers of lights in the dark. I mean, we need it, truly. We're living in crazy times, like we are living in some crazy times. I think that we could use all the positivity and hope and resilience that we can get.
Yeah.
um and so
Yeah.
I
Very well
really love it.
said.
Yeah,
And
I totally, yeah.
when you said that about like tossing away community,
Yeah,
I think a lot of people don't realize it, but community includes your ancestors
that's right. That's
who
right.
did not have a choice really.
That's right.
Like people were getting like mutilated
Yeah,
for
yeah.
practicing their religion, like their
Hmm.
indigenous traditions.
Exactly.
Like they really didn't have a choice but to, you know,
It's
conform
forced
to
conversion.
this.
Yeah. Hmm.
And even then, like there's forms of resistance
Hmm.
within,
Absolutely.
like the way that they converted. Like for
Hmm.
example, we learn in Chicano studies a lot about how La Virgen de Guadalupe is actually like an indigenous deity
She's the
that
unseen.
came from
Exactly. Hmm. Hmm.
mixing with Catholicism and all
Hmm.
of that. And it's
Yeah.
there's a lot of really interesting readings on that,
Hmm.
but
Totally.
recognizing that it's not an all or nothing kind of thing. It's like
Yeah.
we intermix with all these things that happen to us.
Hmm.
It blends into the social and cultural fabric of who we are today.
It does.
And to
It does.
deny parts of that is just like denying like your complex existence.
Hmm. Absolutely. And that's so well said too. It's like human beings are complex. And that's the
Hmm.
thing, is like, getting a little theology here. All of the books that have been written, everything that has been, talked about God, conversations, etc., all of that put together, those honestly are like little puzzle pieces. Little tiny, teeny, tiny, teeny puzzle pieces to what the creator is. If we really, step back and think about it, it's like, okay, we're talking like creator of the universe, right? We're talking, in Christian terms, God, in other religions, other terms, Allah, etc. You know, but it's very similar that this is supposed to be like the creator of everything,
Hmm.
and yes, human beings are brilliant, and we are, well designed and well made, etc., as far as creatures go. But even, right, and I will never forget some of my theology teachers saying, like, if you think you have it all figured out, you're wrong. Like, the minute,
Right.
right, like the minute you think you have life all figured out, the minute you have God all figured out, or religion or anything completely resolved, you're doing yourself a right, like we do ourselves a disservice, because we're constantly learning. Like, this entire existence
Hmm.
is a series of lessons and learning,
Yeah.
and we get like little, literally, I feel like we get little glimpses, like teeny tiny little puzzle pieces along the way, but we'll never fully know. And I don't
Right.
know, and this is the hard part too, I don't know that we're supposed to know it all, right? Like, I don't think we're supposed to know everything about everything. No way. So,
I
which
don't
is
think
hard.
you can possibly contain all that
No,
knowledge in this body.
no,
Like we can't
exactly.
even handle it.
We
Like
can handle it, right? You can handle the truth, right? That's true.
exactly.
No, it's so true, and that can be hard, right? That can be hard, because I
Hmm.
think so many of us, we want answers. We want answers, like the classic questions: why do bad things happen to good people? Why do
Hmm.
certain people, have such really difficult lives? Like, why about war? Why about this? Why? Yeah, like, we have so many questions, and it's tough. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of things that have happened in my life that I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I don't really. I'm not
Same.
entirely sure why
Same.
that had to happen, you know?
Right.
And what can you do? Honestly, what can you do is accept, like, pick yourself up, right? That's kind of like the only solution, is to pick yourself up, lick your wounds and keep going.
Yep.
That's what you do, right? But it's tough. Yeah, it's super tough. And I really, I'm so grateful that you shared that in terms of reflection, in terms of like, it's, oh man, it's not just about us, right? That's the thing
Mm-hmm.
too, is like having like, I guess I'll use the word like cosmology, having a sense of we are part of a bigger fabric. We're part of a bigger picture. You know, it's not just about our family. It's not just about our city or our country or bigger, right? It's about
Yep.
something much greater that we
Mm-hmm.
are, you know, on this planet for, that we happen to be here in this particular space and time. I think it's significant, you know, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
significant. So I love it. I think that's super cool. And yeah, it's, you know, like you mentioned, those were different times. Those were different times. Like my grandma had 7 children on my mom's side, you know, and her sister had 10, right? Like her sister, it was the two of them. And so I guess she would be my great aunt. She had 10 children. Today, right? Today, people have like 2 kids, maybe 3. Like today, 3 kids is considered a
Yeah.
big family, right?
It's
When someone
pushing
has
it.
3 or
Yeah.
4, it's like, oh my God, you have a huge family, right? And
Mm-hmm.
there's been so many like articles and things that have come out recently saying how like the birth rate is super low
Oh yeah.
because, you know, because times are pretty scary, times are pretty tough, and people think twice, in other words, right? They
Mm-hmm.
think twice about having family, about having kids, about having big, you know, a bigger family if they're growing their family. Yeah, because it's a lot. It's a lot to consider.
Yeah, of
Not only
course. And I mean,
economically, but with the state of the world, like, yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
not only that, I feel like it's kind of the first time where women kind of have a choice.
Yes.
Funny enough,
Yes.
I mean, of course, we're under attack, right? Because
Always
some
battling for
people
that choice.
deem that we've had that choice for too long, even though we've only had it for not even a decade.
Yeah, I mean
but
it's so true.
uh,
It's so
but
true.
yeah, it's just kind of the resistance to being under attack.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like is this like resistance to. There's a movement. I don't know if you've
Yes.
heard about
Oh yeah.
4B movement and all of that.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's really gaining traction, and I
It's
mean, a
great.
lot of women are just starting to realize. Well, a lot of people that can give birth, right? Like they are realizing that maybe
Maybe not. Yeah,
it's a big commitment, and
it's a big
maybe
commitment. Yeah, exactly.
we should think a little more concretely about it. And it's also like resistance to like all these hegemonic powers
Yes.
kind of
Exactly.
exploiting, like wanting
Free
workers
labor.
instead
Exactly.
of
The capitalism.
instead of more
Exactly.
human beings. Yeah,
The
it can be, yeah,
capitalism.
seen as a
Yeah.
resistance to capitalism and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
this stuff going on.
Yeah. And I always mention too, it's like, okay, there's a lot of talk about like, you know, people should have babies, have children, grow children, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And then on at the same in the same breath, funding for schools is getting cut, teachers are overworked, healthcare system is abysmal, health insurance is through the roof. It's like, wait, that's so contradictory. That's so in my mind, right? It's so hypocritical to tell people go have a bunch of children and there's no
Right.
community support.
They don't
The
even protect them at school. Like they're getting shot at
Don't
school.
even get me
Like,
started. Yes. The danger, exactly. Don't even get me started with the school shootings. It's horrible. The danger, exactly. The danger that little kids, the trauma that little kids face, you know, they're scared to go to school. It's awful. Anyway, but yeah, it goes hand in hand. It's like, how in good conscience, right? How in good conscience can you tell people to go have children or grow their families when there's a lot happening? You know, the lack of support is outrageous, you
I
know.
mean, I think I'm just gonna say it out loud. I don't think it's in good conscience.
No, it's not.
Actually,
No.
it's
It's
an
irresponsible
attempt
in a
to
way.
just have
Yeah.
workers and to just have
Yeah.
people that are gonna be fearful enough to just act in the way that is necessary for the
Yep.
machine to keep running.
For the machine to keep
It's
running. Exactly.
really
Exactly.
unfortunate, actually. But I'm glad we're all seeing it and kind of
People
resisting
are
in our
waking
own
up.
way. It's in
Yes.
it very intuitive, actually, the way people are resisting.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know like terms like colonization,
Right.
like
Right. They just
like
something's off.
fascism,
Yeah.
all of that. It's just they're just like
It's
something's wrong.
intuitive.
Let
Yeah.
me hold my
Yeah.
my ground here.
Exactly. No, it's true. I mean, we use that term like to unplug from the Matrix. I'm like, yes, like that movie, the Matrix movie. I swear that was a documentary. I've said
Oh
it
yeah.
many times. It's kind of wild. Like once you start seeing what's really going on. I think of it as like, Wizard of Oz. Once you peek behind the curtain, you're like, oh no, like this is a
You
mess.
can't unsee it.
You
Yeah.
cannot unsee it. Exactly. And I mean, also it's true. That's the power of education, of course, right? That's also the danger, quote unquote, the danger and power of education is like you start learning, you start hearing, you start reading these books, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like this history books and things like that. Like I'm teaching Central American Studies classes right now, and the students are reading these different texts, the historical backgrounds, like about the wars and things like that in Central America. They're like, oh, you see
The
the connections to
epiphanies.
the refugees?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see the connections to the people fleeing for their lives now? Yes. Like it's very interconnected.
Yep.
Oh man. This is
Yeah.
so great, Gabby. I love it. This is a super amazing conversation. Yeah, I think it is about reclaiming, again, like reclaiming the things that work for you. And that I feel like that applies in all categories. Like creating a life, it's ultimately about creating a life that reflects one's own values, right? And I posted, actually, I think it was earlier today, this beautiful image. It was like, our ancestors didn't just give us trauma. Our ancestor also gave us like beautiful gifts and knowledge and all kinds of things and resilience. And we have to really dive into that and own that and feel
Yep.
their presence. So I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. And use
Yeah.
it to like push ourselves forward also, because it's so easy to get stuck, right?
Oh
In the
yes.
trauma
Yes.
and all of that. It's
Yeah.
really heavy.
It is
So
heavy. It is
obviously it's
heavy.
what you're paying attention to most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
but shifting your focus to these good things that you also inherited,
Yep.
it
Yep.
really empowers you to carve a path out,
Totally.
that's gonna serve the next generation as well.
Yeah.
Um, because we have no choice. Like we said, all you can do is like keep moving.
Gotta
And
keep going. Yeah,
hmm
exactly. And right now when I hear people, and rightly so, when I hear people start getting nervous and stressed out and freaked out, I'm like, y'all, can we just take a moment and acknowledge all the things that our ancestors have been through, all the things that our families, not even that far back, right? Like our grandparents, great grandparents, that we have heard about or seen, they have been through it. And
hmm
somehow, right? And some way, somehow, they made it to the other, right? They found a way to resist, and they found a way to move forward, right? As difficult as it was. So in other words, let that be your hope, right? Like let that be
hmm
your guiding light and hope that we are also going to be okay. Not to minimize what's going on, but it's like we cannot let the fear overtake us. We cannot let the panic and the drama like destroy, because that's the goal, right? That's exactly the goal, is for us to like cave
Yep.
and for it to like destroy any semblance of our humanity. It's like,
Yep.
no, we have to resist. We have to
Yeah.
resist.
Yeah. At this
Yeah.
point, it's more of a like spiritual war than it
Oh,
is like
woo.
anything. And it's
Yep.
just like
It
having a
is.
strong spirit. Like
Yes.
that's what we inherited, and that's what's gonna help us get
Yep.
out of it. And actually, everything we need is
Yeah.
already here. Like we just have
Mm-hmm.
to rearrange it in a way where it works for us.
Yeah. We
If
do.
you start thinking with like more of an abundant mindset, like
Mm-hmm.
you realize that everything you need, it's already here.
It's
It's
already
just that,
within. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just that things aren't, configured in the right way.
Yeah. 1,000%. And I would say, as a community, I think that's probably one of the biggest disservices, or one of the things that if I could have a magic wand that I would change. Latinas, Latinx community in general, we're so strong and so
Mm-hmm.
brilliant, and so many artists, all the things, right? But we don't see I feel like it's like we don't see ourselves that way, right? We've kind of been fed, right? We've been fed so much negativity, so much lack mindset, between racism, etc., all that, right? That I don't think we see ourselves, right? I don't think
Yeah.
we see ourselves the way that we really are,
Yeah.
and that's one thing that I wish would shift, that needs to shift, actually, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that's also like, it's funny enough, it was a survival tactic for our ancestors, and we
Mm,
inherit that as well, because
yeah.
before, like, being seen was dangerous. Like,
That's
like
true.
being loud and
That's
outspoken, you
true.
know, and a
Yeah,
certain way, like
that's
it
true.
exposed you to violence.
That's true.
So now that we've, you know, fast forward into this new era where that's actually what we need to be doing, like some of us in our body,
Yes.
like it doesn't feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like,
Totally.
well, but we have to kind of work through that and
Totally.
you know, kind of see it for what it is. I've
Yeah.
been in therapy for many years, and that's one of the things that I've been working on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's hard. It's very
It is hard.
hard to rewire kind of your body to
Mm-hmm.
understand that you know, like speaking your mind is normal, taking up space is
Right.
normal, you know,
It's a good thing.
stating your boundaries, that's normal,
Mm-hmm.
and it shouldn't cause you any anxiety. It
Right.
shouldn't cause you any, like, you know, but it does because we've been like taught a certain way, but that way is not working anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what's
Mm-hmm.
gonna help us right now. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Exactly. 1,000%. Yeah. And shout out to mental health. I am in therapy
Yeah.
myself. Like I've shared on the podcast that I, you know, have dealt with different mental health things. Like I was diagnosed with bipolar during the pandemic. That was crazy.
Of course.
And so can you
I
imagine?
feel like we all got diagnosed during the
I mean,
pandemic.
that's the thing. Like I think the pandemic, it was like literally the breaking point. You know, it was like
Mm-hmm.
the what is that saying in Spanish? La gota de agua que colmó el
Que
vaso,
derramó el
right?
vaso,
Que
yeah.
derramó el vaso. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That was like everyone was like barely. I feel like everyone was barely keeping it together, and with the pandemic, we're like, oh no, it's over, it's done. Like it's the jig is up, right? Like they say, like
Yeah.
we gotta figure things out. But anyway, I appreciate you mentioning that. Yes, I'm a big proponent of mental health. Therapy is a godsend. Please, folks, like if you have been shy about getting therapy, there's so many different ways now today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love like online therapy where you can just meet on
Mm-hmm.
Zoom. It's very convenient. There's apps like BetterHealth. I mean, I always kind of plug those different avenues for seeking help
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
it's
And
worth it.
also,
It's so worth it.
yeah, going into it, like just know also that it's a process. Like
Yes.
it might take like one, two, three, five therapists to figure out like to know that you work well with that therapist. If
Yes.
you need medication, it's gonna take like two,
Takes
three
time.
different times testing and,
Right.
you know, mixing different ones to find out if it works, you know.
Exactly.
And there's even different kinds of therapy. Like there's
Yes.
CBT, there's trauma focused therapy, there's like other things like EMDR,
Mm-hmm.
that's that's
Mm-hmm.
more
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
And I've been going through that journey for
Mm-hmm.
since 2016, so coming on 10 years, and it's just
Yeah.
like I'm still not done. So it takes
Yeah.
a lot of time and really
It's a
intentional,
process.
and you have to put in the work
You
more
have to
than
put in the work.
anything. Like,
Right.
so it's not easy, but it
No.
is definitely worth
It's
it.
worth it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth it. And it's true. Like the best investment that we can make is an investment in ourselves. And that
Mm-hmm.
goes, mind, body, spirit, like doing things for
Yep.
your self-care, for your own improvement and things like that. It just makes you a better person, which in the best version of yourself, rather, I should say. And that in turn makes you in a better space to be there for others. That's the thing,
Yep.
right? Like in doing that, we are by taking care of ourselves, we actually become better daughters, better sisters, better friends,
Mm-hmm.
teachers, etc., whatever roles we may have in life. So it's really good. That's awesome. I am
Yeah,
here for it.
self
It's
care is low
important.
key community care
Yes,
because
it
you're
is.
part of the community. Like, and if
Amen.
you're not
Yeah.
taking care of yourself, you're not taking care of the community
So
because
true.
you're
It's
part
so
of
true.
it. Like,
Yeah, it's not selfish, right? So I've seen things that say that, right? Self-care is not selfish. It's not.
mm-mm.
It's
I
really
mean, that's
not.
what they
And
want
it's
you to think.
right. It's totally worth the investment. But yes, this has been so fun. And as we kind of wrap up our conversation, I always like to close with advice. So
Mm,
I'm big on, speaking of therapy, I'm big on this concept of like healing the inner child, healing the little girl within, because childhood can be tough. Childhood can be rough for
oh
many of
yeah.
us. And so I think that's one of the beautiful things about being grown adults now, being grown women, is being able to reflect and think about, not only ourselves as young girls, as little girls, but also what advice we can share to young women today. Like what, I think that all of that, again, is community care. It's kind of giving back and giving that advice. So, Gabby, I would love to hear from you what advice you'd like to share.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with you about the inner child work stuff. I mean, I've been in therapy precisely. I have CPTSD from childhood trauma, and definitely been working on that for many years. And I think one thing that I keep coming back to when I envision like my childhood self is like there's nothing wrong with you, you know, like there's
Yeah.
like you're uh you're like perfect but also imperfectly like perfect, you
Imperfectly
know,
perfect.
like
Yeah, totally.
that's what being human is. And I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
we get a lot of like external messaging that like either we're not enough or that there's something wrong with us, or you know that because we don't behave a certain way or do things a certain way that you know that we're not what we're supposed to be. But if like staying true to yourself, uh it's just so important
Mm-hmm.
to stay true to yourself and to know that whatever you believe about yourself is what counts, not what other people tell you to believe about yourself. um, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's what I would say to my younger self and also to others. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really important to know that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I think that's fantastic advice. I agree with you. I agree with you. I feel like it takes a long time to realize these things, right? It can take a long time to realize, like, wait a minute, no one's perfect. I don't have to be perfect to love myself, to be worthy of love. Every human being is on a journey, and it's okay. It's okay to be imperfectly perfect. And I really love what you've shared. This has been so great. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Gabby. What an
Thank
awesome
you for having me.
conversation.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yay, this is super cool. So Gabby, where can people find you? Are you on Instagram or if they want to
Yes,
reach
I'm
out?
on Instagram. My handle is La Dramatica, LA underscore Dramatica with two A's.
Okay.
Uh, I was called that a lot as a kid, so trying
That's
to
funny. I
reclaim
love it.
that.
Reclaim it. That's so great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Perfect. So I'll make sure to link your Instagram, or I'll tag your Instagram when I post on social media. Oh, thank you so much, Gabby. This was lovely.
Thank you.
Yay. Thank you, everyone who joined us for this episode. Again, this is the Gold Hoops and God podcast. I'm Dr. Guerra. New episodes are available each Wednesday everywhere that you stream your podcasts, including iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, and all the rest. And then the video of the interview is going to be available on YouTube. You can find new episodes on Wednesdays at 1:11 Pacific time, PM, 1:11 PM. Thank you. Thank you so
Yep.
much.
Yay.
Bye, Gabby. Thanks.
Bye.